Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indie Creative Comics Podcast, where we are all about independent comics. I'm one of your hosts, Angel, with John Pepe.
How's it going, Angel?
So I can see you on the screen, and your eyes are just like right before I say the name, it's just getting really big. You're like, what the hell is he going to do this kid, bro? It's good. It's good. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. It's holiday time. We got some snow in New Jersey, and it's cold. It feels like the holiday time, you know.
It does. This year went by really quick.
Most wonderful time of the year, they say.
What do we got? We got 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah. Christmas is a week from Thursday.
That's crazy.
And then one more week of the year. Yeah,
that is insane. So yeah, that's how fast it goes, kiddos. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're 50 and you have back pain all over. It's just insane. There's a lot that's been going on as well. So let me just welcome you guys to the Indie Creative Comics Podcast. If you are new, welcome. This is it's gonna be cool today. We got a quick show today because I think we only have a couple of reviews of some indie comics, small press comics. But there's some stuff that's been going on. It's really bad. I don't want to talk about new stuff because through these damn shootings, Brown University, Bondi Beach, this is not the show for it, but it's just crazy that you just wake up every day and it's just something freaking new. It's insane. However, I did want to mention, I don't know if you saw it this morning, Rob Reiner, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, my favorite movie in the entire freaking world, The Princess Bride. And not to mention a whole host. I mean, I saw him in All in the Family when I was young. If you grew up in sort of like the 70s, or that movie, that show was in the 70s. I grew up watching, re-syndications in the 80s. And that show lasted, I think, 9 seasons, which is crazy. Yeah. But that was that was his breakout role. I mean, he was a meathead for I don't know how many years.
I mean, again, he had the familial pedigree with his dad being, Carl Reiner, who is a TV icon and a stand-up icon with his work solo and with Mel Brooks by that point. But, Rob didn't rest on that. Rob was always doing his own thing and redefining himself in a lot of ways. Brought a lot of sentimentality to his work, a lot of heart, but could also bring you the horror, like in Misery, things like that.
Oh, yes.
And
it's Kathy Bates, right? That's
Kathy
one of
Bates,
her. That's
James
the one that
Caan.
kind of like broke her out. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And speaking of breaking out, while he was an actor on All in the Family, he also was given the opportunity to write several episodes as well, and that nurtured this creative side. I mean, one of my favorites is This Is Spinal Tap, which is such a great mockumentary, and it's one of the few movies that he directed that he's actually in. And his character is just as goofy and weird and funny, intentionally
right
on his part, but the person themselves or the character themselves are not trying to be funny.
Right.
Just like that bit at the beginning when he's introducing this film, right? This Spinal Tap is Marty DeBurge, the director, and there's that moment where he's just standing there and he like crosses his arms and then just quickly unfolds them. Like he can't get comfortable on camera, but he's the director. Like it's just some great work, some great bits. Princess Bride, a very faithful adaptation by William Goldman of his novel, but that idea to do the framing sequence with Peter Falk and Fred Savage, I think that makes that movie transcend just what the story is. I think, Stand By Me, that's a movie that would bring generations together, fathers and sons, and it just that opened the door to, I think, what we see now with like the It remakes and the Stranger Things stuff, that whole band of kid adventurers going on their real life journey to see a dead body, and then what happens. That movie is a genius, and again, based on a Stephen King story as well. So
and you think of all the genres that he's come across. I mean, that's the coming of age, and then Princess Bride and When Harry Met Sally, those could be rom-coms and stuff like that. A Few Good Men, was it?
With
Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. I mean, whole courtroom drama there. I mean, he touched so many things, and just for this to happen, just kind of out of nowhere. There's just a bunch of rumors right now. It's going to be really interesting to see what comes out of it. But
yeah. It's a great loss to pop culture, to entertainment. Also, Rob Reiner, I think, fancied himself as a humanitarian. Always wanted to leave the world a better place than when he came into it, and I think he did that through his work.
Yeah.
I wish that we had seen more. And again, it's just like a year or two after his father passed too. So
and his father was still working, because I saw all the freaking Ocean's 11, 12, 13 movies. It was great in them. So
I don't know what Carl Reiner, Mel Brooks, Dick Van Dyke. I don't know what these guys are drinking.
Dick Van Dyke. Did you see the special they did for him?
A little bit. I didn't see the whole thing.
I just saw like the opening portion. This guy's 100 years old.
100 years old.
He came out and for like 5 seconds was tap dancing. I was like, what in the effing fuck? Like, I just want to, if I make it to 100, I just want to be not in a wheelchair and not walking with a cane. Dude, he is lively. Like, I don't know.
It's insane. And, and Mel Brooks making Spaceballs 2.
Those two, yeah.
At almost 100, yeah. But Tracy Stewart apparently wants us to stop talking so much.
Really?
I don't know how you could do a show about reviewing comics and talking about pop culture without talking. But they're in Pakistan, so I maybe you need a translation, subtitles or something.
Maybe there's a time difference. But yeah, folks, we were just talking about Rob Reiner, just a really sad loss, and hopefully we'll get some answers as to what happened there. But yeah, just a great. I mean, we grew up in the 80s, so if most of the time if you're talking about a movie from the 80s, you're probably touching one of Rob Reiner's films.
100%.
Yeah, which is insane. So all right, so let's just move on to a little bit of lighter stuff right before we get into our reviews.
I just want to make a correction. Tracy Stewart is not from Pakistan. That is somebody else. So thank you, Hanan, for checking us out in Pakistan.
Nice.
We're international now, Angel.
Yeah. That's fantastic. All right, listen, we are in the final hours. I think at 5 o'clock we end with the Project Shadow Breed Kickstarter. So yeah, projectshadowbreed.com. If you want to head over there, you still got time. We've hit our goal, so we're beyond excited. So it's just these last couple of hours, just getting whatever contributions want to come in on there. It's been a great run. I mean, we really want to thank all the supporters that supported our vision for this particular project. We're really excited about what we are launching. I just printed out another kind of like final copy of the whole thing, and here's the back of the issue with our big ass symbol. I mean, the book just looks great. I mean, we add those additional pages that we talked about in regards to like the journal entries from Marek, and then some like early design layouts and stuff like that for the characters. So there's a bunch of rewards on there to check out. We've been tossing around this idea with adding something extra as well, and I think we're going to do it sort of like those times that we were talking about Bad Idea and what they did with like the stickers and stuff like that. I think we're going to do it for the people that actually supported us, and if you collect the X amount of stickers, there's some great prizes that we're going to give down the road. So yeah, so head over to projectshadowbreed.com. You can read all about it there. You can think about supporting us. If you know anybody that loves like werewolves and soldier stuff, yeah, send them out there as well. We got a
vans, A-team type vans.
Yeah, oh man, dude, I love drawing that van.
A quick question: what you held up, is that a proof or is that actual size? It looks a little.
No, it's a proof because it's on 8.5 by 11 stuff.
Gotcha.
There's only just waiting on one more. I'm waiting on the actual campaign to end because they're all going to get credit on the page before I go and send it for an actual proof on there. But for the most part, it's done. It's done in the bag. And what I really like about what we do when we do that is that the project is actually complete. So the waiting time and the turnaround time after we get the funding is just the printing time. That's all it is. So more than likely, most people will be getting this stuff probably by mid to late January at the most, which is great because then we'll start to get ready to launch issue number 2, which is already in the bag as well. So really excited about that. But yeah, head over to projectshadowbreed.com and give it a quick look over. It'd be great. All right, yeah. So that's all the news that we have. I wish it was more positive, good news, but we'll see what comes in the next couple of weeks. So now, what do we get into? Reviews for this week. All right, so if you guys are brand new to the podcast, John and I survey the wall over at Joker Child, and we look at whatever's coming out for the coming week. And we primarily focus on small press, independent comics. I know that we've talked about Transformers and G.I. Joe in the past, and those are more, Hasbro IP licensed stuff. But they do fall under the purview because when Robert Kirkman picked them up, he included his own storyline as well that kind of encompasses what they're calling the Energon verse. So Void Rivals is part of that series as well. So the only reason why we include Transformers and G.I. Joe is because it sits in the same universe as Void Rivals. And I'm really looking forward to, what he's doing. Dude, he's that whole storyline, that whole thing that he's doing with the 3 books is absolutely fantastic. So I think there's an animation coming out, right?
There is something in the Energon universe animated something that was announced a few months ago. So that's kind of cool coming down the pike. Yeah. I also think it's great that Kirkman's writing again and writing a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great because he just took over Transformers from after Daniel Warren Johnson did the first 2 years. I think Void Rivals is still coming out, but on a hiatus. He has the Invincible universe stuff of Battle Beast as well as Capes. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the coolest things that was announced last week is they are actually Image and Marvel are actually going to do an official reprint of the Marvel Team Up issue that Kirkman wrote that had Invincible in it.
Oh, really?
And it was Spider-Man Invincible. That's, his stock was high. Walking Dead had already come out. Invincible was killing it. He was writing Marvel Team Up at the time. They allowed him to use Invincible. It got a stealth reprint with the blind bag, I think, of the first Battle Beast. But the biggest thing is, I guess this reprint will have variant covers and new covers. And Todd McFarlane is drawing a Spider-Man cover again. With and a reprint of this Marvel Team Up with Invincible. So that's kind of cool. And you know what? It just looks like he just ported an Image from the 90s and just did it there. Like as far as drawing Spidey, he hasn't lost his touch.
No. I mean, he's still phenomenal. I mean, he's getting up there too, but no, I love his stuff. So I guess which guy's going to be getting that cover? It's fantastic. So it's all good. It's all good. All right, cool. So we do have a couple of books for you this week that we did pick off the shelf. I'm going to pop up the Image. I'm going to let you, John, talk about it first because I read this one as well. And woo, I'm loving it. Seriously. All right.
Yeah. So we have Ordained and Angel. This is my first Bad Idea comic that I have read and reviewed for this show. Yeah. I love the company. I highly respect the company. I kind of want to talk a little bit about just, we've done it before. We've mentioned them, but I just kind of want to give a big run through because this is sort of their 4th or 5th year in existence. This is their 3rd wave of books. When they started, they had all these rules for retailers. Not all retailers could, you had to apply. If you got accepted, you had to follow rules. If you didn't follow their rules, like no selling before over cover price within 30 days, have to display it prominently, all this stuff. If you broke those rules, and this happened, like there were retailers that were fired from carrying Bad Idea because they broke the rules. And then it's kind of interesting. And then they had these great things, like you mentioned before, like when a first issue would be released, the first person in line on Wednesday at a store would get a button or, and then they could take that button and they could trade that for cool stuff from Bad Idea. Mm-hmm. Or what a lot of people did was they were selling these buttons on eBay. So somebody would pay that money for that and then get that cool stuff. But, a lot of things that they did were great for retailers because it drove people into the store on a Wednesday, and to have people lining up outside the door on a Wednesday, unfortunately is a rare thing. Although we're seeing, again, this week was very interesting, partly because of this book. So yeah, so they kind of also whatever they did at the beginning, they didn't do anymore, right? They let a lot of the rules go, but they would still do these crazy things like have people walk around with "I hate bad idea" signs at conventions. They did one of our customers at Joker's Child, Paul Dunn, is a big supporter of Bad Idea, and he does a lot of the challenges and kind of helps them at shows and stuff. And he did this thing where he came in, he had to film it, right? He comes in and he's got this box of stuff. And he sets his camera up and he goes, I have a presentation for retailers. A Bad Idea. We know how hard retailers work. And so here's some things to help you get through your day. And it's like a box of coffee, a box of Joe from Dunkin' Donuts, snacks, donuts, things. And then the coup de grace was a couple bottles of like Tums or antacid because, quote or paraphrasing, Bad Idea knows being a comic retailer can give you a lot of indigestion. So that was so I thought that was brilliant. I loved it.
That's
Paul
funny.
actually, I think Joker's Child actually won something. I know I received something from Bad Idea because I was like named as a clerk at Joker's Child that Paul nominated us for, and we got that, and that was really cool. And lately, they did a couple things like with CGC, like the Invisible comic book, which was just acetate with staples. It got slabbed and graded.
Yes.
Or my favorite was Cul-de-sac, one of their books that's just wrapping up now on this third wave, is a vampire story, and there's a specific copies out there with a giant wooden stake through the graded slabbed comic, and it's sealed in red wax, and the stake even can prop the comic up. It's like a stand as well. What's really funny though is what I found amusing about that when I was thinking about this earlier. The comic is graded as if it had already been stabbed with the stake.
Yeah.
But yet it had to go into the thing and then be stabbed, or was it all pre-cut? I don't know.
I have no idea.
But that was like, oh, that's a really interesting wrinkle. But anyway, so that's Bad Idea in a nutshell. A great company that actually does. And here's the other thing: they deliver great stuff. Their products are always winners. I really have not heard anybody say anything bad about their comics. And the other thing too that I do like about them is that they both embrace and poke fun at not only themselves but the craziness of comic book collecting culture. And I think that's fantastic that they do that. So go ahead.
And they did. It came in, with the gimmick and stuff like that, and it really worked. And I think genuinely, these guys they definitely love the medium, and I think they were trying to draw more to the direct market, which was great. So even with like the gimmicks that they have now, it's really about bringing attention to it. Unfortunately, it's always those people that want to flip on these small little things that they have. They're always going to be around. So it just sucks. But the fact that these guys did that, and their comics are top notch. I've read a bunch of them, and the good thing about Bad Ideas, you know what you're getting. So I don't. As of right now, there isn't anything in their library that's going to be a long run. These are going to be just short minis, probably 5-6 issues at most. I don't even think they have a 12-issue series as of yet. I think everything ends around 5 or 6 issues, which is pretty cool. So you know what you're getting for the most part, and you're getting a complete story. You're getting all these fantastic worlds, and the book that we're going to talk about right now, Ordained, is no different. Just freaking phenomenal.
And it runs the gamut: hard sci-fi, quirky parody, like the Pizza Detective stuff, the Hero Trade stuff, and in the crime noir as well, which is what this book is, Ordained. And I got one of the variant covers, the Charlie Adler variant, which is really cool. Yep. I think both images will give you a sense of kind of what we're looking at here on this book. So this is written by Robert Venditti, and illustrated by Trevor Hairsane, with art by Dave Stewart, or color art by Dave Stewart, lettered by DC Hopkins. And this is actually, even though Robert Venditti is writing this, this story was conceived in collaboration with Derek Kolstad. Now, Derek Kolstad is one of the co-creators of John Wick. And Venditti and Kolstad previously co-wrote another series for Bad Idea called Planet Death.
Mhm.
and they have another one called Warbird on the way. And what's cool about Warbird is going to have, I guess, Frank Whiteley will be attached, so that's
Nice.
kind of exciting, right?
Love his art.
And so the neat thing about this is that the ads that were running for this were basically soon to be a major motion picture.
Yeah.
And this book is already being optioned. Colin Farrell is attached. But like 5 or 6 studios right now are optioning this book for a movie. And this is very cinematic. There's absolutely no doubt about that. It follows, I think, a lot of the beats of this type. This is an age old trope. You basically have a man of peace who is with a violent past, who has to re-embrace that violent side of him in order to survive.
Mhm.
So basically, you have a priest who is summoned to he gives last rites to people who are about to die, which is basically you confess your sins and you pray for forgiveness. You do the prayer of contrition, and then you're absolved before you die, so that you can go to heaven. Doesn't matter how awful, as it's stated in here, it doesn't matter how awful you are.
Yes.
Once you make that commitment, you will be embraced in heaven. Now, apparently, the guy that he is giving the last rites to is a mob boss who confesses a few of his major crimes to this priest before he dies or is about to die. And then the big twist is that the mob boss doesn't die. In fact, he has this miraculous recovery, and his first order with this new lease on life is to kill the priest, because the priest now knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you have a police officer or detective who's sort of in the mix, who sees him at the hospital, tries to get him to reveal, but it's, like doctor-patient confidentiality or lawyer confidentiality. The part of his vow is he can't repeat what he heard in this final confession. How that changes now that the guy isn't dead and he has mobsters coming after him, we'll see as this develops. But you get some great breezy exposition, and then you get some great action scenes at the end of just this first issue alone, which I thought the first issue was going to be just a lot of setup for the action beats. I didn't expect the big action beat to happen in basically the back half of this issue. And it's great. A lot of this, a couple of things I do want to point out that I like, and yet I'm also like kind of on the fence about. So this, like I said, follows a lot of the beats of basic storytelling. And one of those things that kind of gets me as a reader sometimes is when you want to introduce a character really fast and you want to show these aspects of who they are, right? And so you basically take a lot of different moments that probably would have happened over time, but you kind of crunch them into that first hour, right? Or that first 10 minutes, just so you get a sense of, so we see him doing his morning prayer ritual that would happen every morning. He gets the call, he's on a subway, and then there's a guy smoking a cigarette in front of a no cigarette sign on the subway. He tells the person to stop smoking. The guy flicks a cigarette at him, looks up, and it sees it's a priest, and it's a pretty tough looking priest. So the guy's like, "Oh, I'm really, really sorry." And then he goes to the hospital, and there's a woman that he clearly has had a lot of conversations with before.
Right.
But then they kind of take that time to have this very extended conversation that probably would have happened earlier, because she's asking him a lot of these questions about what he does as a priest and what his religion is like and things like that. So it's great as far as setting it up and establishing it. But again, I feel like that subway moment or that conversation with the receptionist at the hospital were things that, like, you're truncating events for narrative expediency, which is great, which is fine, because it really gives you everything you need to know right in the first few pages, and then you can just kind of go along on the ride. I thought the action sequences were fantastic. A lot of the some of them very storyboard-esque, and sometimes, the geography can get a little lost from panel to panel, but the pacing and the way you Hairsang makes you follow your eye follow the action. I think it was very easy to read because it's a lot of double page spreads that kind of jump around. You kind of got to do an S loop at some point. without the benefit of arrows, like you were talking about with that book a week or so ago.
Mhm.
I felt like all of this was very clear, very easy to follow, easy to read. And one of the things I really liked about Trevor's art, and as well as the newsprint, the heavy newsprint stock that they're
Yes.
using is
Yes.
great. This feels like an old this vibe on this comic, and the art and the way it feels physically reminded me a lot of the Denny O'Neil, Dennis Cohen, Rick Maguire early first year or two of The Question that DC did in the late
Right.
80s. And that really jived because it's one of my favorite series. So that really was a great way for me to just dive into this book and really enjoy it. I'm psyched. I'm really
Yeah.
excited for the rest of this.
It was good.
And again, probably the second biggest book of the week, because there was all this absolute hysteria over Bigger Joker, and that was one of two books that sold out on new release day on Wednesday. This was the other one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good on you guys for staying in the game
Super good.
and reinventing the game too in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I mean, the story was just great. I think there was a couple of things that stood out to me as well. It's when it's an issue one, we talk about world building and stuff like that. We're coming in sort of like the middle of the story because we don't know his past. We get hints of his past, and we don't know what he's done, other than what I've read in the synopsis. But that's not here yet. Then you get him doing his thing. It is, based within the Catholicism, but it doesn't beat you over the head with it. It's not preachy at all, which I really enjoyed. Everything that's talked about as far as religion is part of what his duties are, as opposed to preaching to the reader. So I really appreciated that, because when I picked it up, I was like, oh, I'm not sure. But when I read the preview, that really got me into it, because I don't need to read a Bible that just has pictures in it, kind of thing. If I could do that, they make up that book already. Yeah. But it was really, well, for me, and I always tell you this all the time every time I read a book, what's going to be the hook that ties you in, emotionally in this book. And I think what they did really well in this book is, one, you put into the middle, you get a little bit of background, you get his day, then you get this thing where he's, taking the confession of this mob boss. Mob boss makes a miraculous turnaround, knows that he's confessed all of that shit to somebody who's out there that can actually put him away for the rest of his life, or whatever life he has left. And then he's going to go ahead and have him whacked, whatever it is. End up at the church, two guys. It could have went straight forward. It could have just been a fight between him and the two guys, and it still would have worked. But I think what Robert did here really, really well was that he included a parishioner coming out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, that made the stakes even higher, because it wasn't him just getting shot. It was the amount of time of life that he had left to take care of those two guys, to not have that guy get killed, to be able to get him to the hospital. And for that not to happen kind of would drive anybody over the edge. And I think throwing that in there and making him a liability just increased the stakes. Yeah. Because there really isn't anything for us to connect to the priest himself, but his situation you can connect to. And the fact that he felt what he felt when the parishioner not only got shot, but died, raised the stakes for me completely. Yeah. And that changes the tone of the story.
It does also serve to strengthen his character, that moral center that he has. Yep. And that's the thing, is that you kind of get a basic overview of what a priest embodies and what their duties are, and especially as far as the forgiveness aspect, because this is a man, and it is said, he acknowledges he had a bad past, right, and he found that path to forgiveness. And so so we see a lot of his acts of selflessness, and that is really defined in that moment you're talking about. Yeah, that it would have been a lot easier and a little more expedient to just jump into the action. Oh, two guys are here to kill me. Well, I have this training and I can do this. No, he doesn't get involved until one of his own flock is hurt.
Yep.
And that is such a key important. It's very much, even again, the moment on the subway train, it's very, with the cigarette guy, it's very much a save the cat moment.
Mhm.
You get these moments to show this is your hero. This is the guy who will put others ahead of him and their safety over his own.
Yep.
Even to the point when he gets his hand on a gun.
Yes.
And
I was
makes
just
a,
gonna say
and
that.
I don't want to really say too much, but makes a very important decision on how to use that gun.
Yeah.
Just strengthens his character, strengthens the belief he has in his vow, that even now he has to access these parts of his past that he's been
Yep.
trying to not
suppress.
That even when he's doing that, he still has that moral center.
Right.
And I think that's just a great way to go with this character.
Yep.
We're going to see if all of that gets thrown out the window along with this mob boss who, is definitely going to get his comeuppance probably delivered by this guy. We're going to see how this all goes down, because I think you are going to see that moral structure chipped away at to a point where he has
I agree.
no other choice.
And my thing is, I think for the reader, for them to really understand these little bits that can just be thrown away, they do matter in decision making of character building of your main character, your protagonist. I mean, he John Wick the shit out of that gun. I was waiting for it to freaking just but just like even the 3 panels that they did with that, you could tell that he was skilled. And you could tell, like just reading his eyes, what he wanted to do, kind of thing. So there's just a lot of stuff in this book that they're doing really, really well. And I think anybody who wants to get into comics, and it's funny because this is something when we talk about this all the time. There's people that write comics because they want it to be optioned for a movie. And sometimes you can read it as a treatment, which I hate reading treatments. I don't want to read something that's being made for another medium. And then sometimes you come across a gem that's just done really, really well, that works in this medium, and you could already see it working in another medium as well. And the fact that they're already, optioning it out, this book actually makes sense, because I can see Colin Farrell playing a priest and in this role. And this was a really tight story. So if you're ever looking to actually get into comics, doing comics as a writer, if you're a writer, this is probably definitely something worth picking up, because it was, I think, a little bit more than 32 pages, and then add a backup story of another story that's coming as well in here. So it was a really good, full first issue, even though it wasn't 60 pages long. There was a lot in here to just say, hell yeah, I'm coming back to this. However, this is going to be my only one pet peeve, and you mentioned it. Good thing. I love, listen, when they do newsprint, I love when they do newsprint and stuff like that. And then the stock on top of the cover is just a little bit heavier than newsprint. However, this is my only pet peeve. When you print newsprint in large quantities, which is what they're probably doing, then their price point is probably somewhere under $1, because it's fucking newsprint.
Mm-hmm.
This is a $6 book. It was $5.99. Listen, guys, I love this. This should have been a $4.99 book.
But that's also across the board. I think all their books are basically $5.99 and up.
But their stock used to be different.
They used to have
heavy freaking stock on card stock.
Yeah.
For the dressing, and then they had the regular pages.
Even with this newsprint paper interior, the cardstock cover would still remain.
Yeah,
this is a flimsier cover. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it started with Planet Death was one of the first ones.
Yeah. Or
even the Pizza Guy. That first initial one was newspaper, print, Ashcan and stuff like that. So
now,
I get it. You want to. The margins in comics is small. I know it is. I mean, you're putting this together. You got the team. You got to pay them. Then you go to printing, and the margins are really, really small. Then it goes to distribution, and those margins get even smaller. So I get it. But I was like, holy shit! Beautiful book, but god damn.
And one thing, I mean, I think they've broken it for like 1 or 2 books, but the other thing that they don't do is trade paperback collections. I'm sure this is going to break that rule too, especially if it becomes a movie. This will be collected.
Collected.
And one of the things that kind of I love like I said, I loved it for the nostalgia vibe of how it reminded me of an older series. But one of the things that I felt though was that Hairsign was drawing this for glossy paper, then it got printed on newsprint, and it was a little muddy. I had to get the lights on a little extra brighter to read it. You know,
yeah, because it's offset printing, so you do things differently.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure this is going to get a nice collected edition should this movie come out. Reminds me a lot of History of Violence. I don't know if you remember that movie and that indie comic.
Yep.
And you know, but again, I felt like the $5.99 price point was worth it for this story alone, just this one issue. So and again, it's a short mini. You know, it's probably a couple 3 issues or whatever.
It's a small pet peeve, but it's a pet peeve. That's
I agree, and I agree.
Starbucks latte.
Yeah,
exactly. But also being in the industry and understanding how it works, I understand the margins. So you want to try to get as much as you can out of it. So, but yeah, still a beautiful looking book. Definitely worth a pickup, guys. Ordained by Bad Idea.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to mention too, there's a really nice write-up by the Bad Idea staff or the editorial crew in the back that kind of explains this collaboration between these two creators. And while they wrote Planet Death together, I thought this was really cool that for this story, they decided to split. So that Robert Venditti is just writing the comic and Derek is just concentrating on the movie. And I think that's really cool. And again, this fits right in line with Derek's sensibility. I mean, it's John Wick with vows. You know, it's Unforgiven with a collar, right? So
it's just so funny because John Wick is like that trope has been around for like ever before even John Wick. But John Wick put that trope on a map.
Yeah.
Currently. Yeah. So everything that happens from this point forward is going to be John Wick, which is fantastic. Yeah, check it out, guys. Really, really great stuff. You will not be disappointed with that. So yeah, Robert Venditti, good stuff. All right, cool. So we're moving on to our next and final review, The Darkness. Yes, this is
that's an old book. That's 30 years. That's the 30-year-old comic.
It's crazy. So this originally The Darkness came out back in the early Image days. So we're looking at around 96 is when it first came out. I think it has like 3 or 4 volumes all the way through. This is Darkness #1. This is sort of like a reimagining of the character, Jackie. Can't even say his last name. It's funny because I'm Spanish and it's a Spanish last name.
Estacado.
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 Right? Yeah. So yes. So this is sort of a reimagining of The Darkness once again. I think it's made it a little bit more current for the time that we're in now. But same background and stuff like that. So let me get the credits out. So The Darkness was created by Garth Ennis, Mark Silvestri, and David Wall. This is written by Mark Silvestri, which is great because I love whenever this is one of the original founders of Image, and I love when those guys come out of whatever they're doing because most of them don't do anything as far as writing or drawing full-time anymore. I mean, Todd hasn't drawn or written the main Spawn line in a while. He's doing stuff, I think, on Sam and Twitch, which is freaking great. I love that. That's like a true detective story of those 2 guys that you saw in the original Spawn. And I think he's doing things here and there, but when you got an empire to run, you got an empire to run kind of thing. Eric Larson is the only one I think that's still doing his original comic, which is Savage Dragon. Getting close to 300, man. Getting real close. I think once it hits 300, I think it's going to be done. There's only so much you can do. Who is it? Valentino hasn't done anything in a while. I think
he's just running the company. I think.
Yeah,
he's
running
the guy
company
behind the scenes there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had. Didn't we? We had Shadowhawk something not too long back. I think it was the anniversary for Shadowhawk. I love that character. I wish they would pick it up and do something with it. That's probably one of the great anti-heroes that I like from that genre. Who else do we have? Liefeld. Youngblood is rocking
now
it
back.
out.
And now back. Yeah.
Yes, and now back. So he's rocking it out. Who else do we have that was there? I think that was it, right? That was all the guys. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so most of them. Oh, and Jim Lee, obviously, is not with Image anymore. He's over at DC, but every now and then he'll come and do some stuff. But yeah, I think he's picking up and doing. I think that Spider-Man, Superman thing
that's right. Coming out. He's at least a cover for that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's doing the interiors.
Is he doing the interiors?
Yeah, he's doing interiors of a short story because those are those. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going off on a tangent. All right, so written by Mark Silvestri, which is great. Pencils by Ed Bennis. Love his art, man. Inks by a bunch of people that did different pages. So you got Sal Regia. You got John Lipsey, Matt Bat Benning, and colors by Arif Prianto, and letters by Troy Terry. So if you don't know The Darkness, basically it's this mafia guy that got adopted when he was young, grew up in the mafia as one of their enforcers and stuff like that. And on his 21st birthday, this thing that's called the Darkness kicks in, and comes out to protect him and stuff like that. And it's basically all these little even goblins, or he has access to what's called the Darkness, and he can manifest these little demons that come out along with whatever other creatures. He gets this suit of armor that you see on his body. He just becomes this kick-ass warrior who is wanting to be killed by a group called the Angelus, which are basically angels. So it's sort of like this heaven and hell back and forth kind of thing. It was really good. I mean, I read the original series, so this is sort of like a retelling of that. So you get sort of like the similar beginning of how he came to be, and sort of like all the people that are introduced into his life, because he was in foster care, gets adopted by the mafia guy, which is fantastic. And then, grows up sort of in that mafia, becomes the enforcer, like I said. And then the Angelus gets a hold or finds out that he's been he's was considered the next Darkness, so it's sort of like a title. But what was really cool was to see how he became the next Darkness. I'm not going to give it away too much, but it has to do with a couple getting it on, which is quite nasty, and what happens to that couple after it's conceived. And so it manifests itself. And so basically the Angelus group found out who it was and were planning to kill him, but they can't kill him, or they can't kill the Darkness until it actually exposes itself. And it was exposing itself on his 21st birthday, and they only have a certain amount of time to kill the Darkness, or else then it just becomes harder. Not impossible, but a lot harder. Really, really easy read, really meaty too. I mean, I think it's a good 40 pages, which is absolutely fantastic, because you get sort of like that beginning of where they are. And then the art in it, I just have to do this real quick. You get your shiny magazine pages, which is fantastic. But I mean, the designs in these are fantastic. And I know a lot of this stuff is like Mark Silvestri inspired, because he was one of my favorite artists. But those are the Angelus right there. And then you have sort of like this naked chick over there and whatnot. You never get to see any boobies. That's why they keep it PG-13 in here. But yeah, I mean, everything from like the wings and stuff like that. The action scenes in here are absolutely phenomenal. I think the creative team on this is just spot on, with Ed drawing and then adding in the colors and stuff like that, which is absolutely fantastic. It's from beginning to end, and it leaves you on a cliffhanger. I'm going to see if it follows a lot of the original stuff. I think they're doing some really new stuff with this, which is great. The demon's talking to him at the end. Fantastic, introducing himself. The main demon that talks to him, his name is Zach, which I think is fantastic. If his last name was Galifianakis, it'd be even better. But it sort of leaves you at the end. The thing with these types of books, right? So this we'll consider as an anti-hero book. When we look at Ordained, which is set, I would say, closer to reality, but you still have to. I mean, almost everything that happened in that book can happen in real life. Because if you think about it, somebody having a shaky past, and then going through whatever they want to go through to become a priest, and then it's just ordinary stuff, and then all of a sudden, just this bigger than a life situation comes at you, and then you have to deal with it. So there's nothing supernatural as of yet or anything like that. It's just plain old priest takes on some bad guys. Some people die, and that's it. As opposed to sort of like the supernatural element in this particular book, and sort of this anti-hero. What makes this really, I think, unique to me is when you can give a crap about somebody who's a bad guy, who's tortured, not because he has to do good things, but finds himself in a position that the only thing that he can do is the good thing. It's really weird. Like, I'm rooting for this guy, even though I know he's a fucking asshole. Like, he really is. He's a womanizer. He's an enforcer. He kills people for his uncle because he tells him to kill people and stuff like that. And now he's thrown into the situation, and you have these two sides that are going at each other in this particular instance. But then he's doing things where he's saving people that are innocent as well. So now he's put into a situation where it's funky. I like it. I like it when you're put in impossible situations, and the choices that you make don't have to be the choices that you were, brought into or deemed into. You can be an asshole all your life, just like the priest was able to sort of like say, hey, you killed all these people in your entire life. You're now forgiven, and now you have an entrance to heaven. It was really interesting to read these two and see the parallels, but then also see the significant differences in the storytelling and the actual story itself. But yeah, if you like Image stuff, if you like that 90s stuff, this is absolutely up there with the stuff that you have to read, especially if you like supernatural stuff and anti-hero stuff. I love superhero stuff, so this was right up my alley. So check it out, Darkness from Image.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Darkness was a spin-off of Witchblade originally, correct?
Was it, or was it the other way around?
Or did Witchblade? I always thought Witchblade was first, and then Darkness came out of Witchblade for some reason, from the pages of Witchblade. I was something I seem to recall.
You could be right. I think it was the other way around, though, but you could be right.
And so I know Image recently brought back Witchblade not too long ago. I don't know if you read that. Does this hint at any connection between the two characters?
Yes.
Or is this okay?
Yes.
I was just wondering if they were still that connection between the two characters in these new versions that they were doing. But.
Okay, yeah, you were right. Witchblade came first.
Yeah,
so it would have come out of it.
And Benez is a great choice to do that Silvestri style. You know, definitely inspired by Silvestri, and I think even a little Portasio I see in Benez's style. So it's a good artist choice. For
sure. Yeah, and I could definitely see it. I think those are definitely his designs and stuff like that, or designs inspired by what Mark Silvestri did initially. So I liked it. I'm going to keep with it. It was a really good story. But I think definitely the winner for us this week was Ordained.
Yeah, that won the mob. It won the Mob War on Mob Week on our show.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. All right. So there you go, guys. You have two great stories: Ordained by Bad Idea, Can I Go Wrong, and The Darkness from Image Comics. I think that's all that we have for you this week. So. Yeah. So we're getting towards the end of the year. We have a couple of shows left. So next Monday we will not be here. So we're going to do a special show on Thursday, which will sort of be like John's recap of the year. So I'll kind of give you his kind of favorite stories of the year, along with whatever we get this Wednesday. And then the last Monday of the year will be just you and I, guys, going over my picks for the year, and then just kind of lining up what we have. We already have a couple of creators lined up to give you some great shows and see what they got going on in their lives and bring it to the table in the indie space, which would be really cool. So make sure you take a look out for that as well. And then also, I think we're almost there, 3:49. So you got about an hour and 10 minutes if you want to hop over to projectshadowbreed.com, give that a look over and contribute to our campaign. We'd absolutely love it. We're really thrilled about it already being funded, but we want to get it into as many hands as possible. So feel free to go ahead and check that out. All right, kiddies, that brings us to the very, very end. So listen, if you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Better yet, tell 100 of your friends to come and join us. We're usually live every Monday at 1 o'clock. So if you want to come on and you want to write something and you want something live that we'll read on, or you want to talk about a particular topic, just hit us up, 1 o'clock. Usually there on Mondays.
Definitely tell us we talk too much. That will absolutely get you on the show, Teresa Stewart.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a creator, want to be on the podcast, then go to indiecreatorcomics.com. Look for the podcast form tab. Just fill out the form. John and I would love to have you on, talk about you and your project that you have coming up. On social medias, all the social medias, you can find us at Indie Creator Comics. That's from everything. Well, you know what? I didn't go on to X. I just bypassed that whole thing. I was like, you know what? F them. But on everything else, you can find us there. And then last but not least, please, please, please support your local comic book shop, because without them, we would not be able to do what we love to do, and that's to bring you comics. John, where do you get your comics from?
Well, I get my comics at The Joker's Child, and the holidays are in full swing. So come on down to The Joker's Child and get yourself some toys, some statues, some gift certificates, these comics that we were talking about. Even if they're sold out, we go to the ends of the earth to get you these comics back in the store. So even if you don't have Ordained right now, we will have it for you. We also have comics with boobies, because we know Angel likes comics with boobies. So you want to get to Angel something nice? Come on down to The Joker's Child. We're going to be open extra for the holidays. We're usually closed Mondays and Thursdays. That's why we do this podcast on Mondays. And that's why I'm not doing the podcast the next 2 Mondays, because we'll be open. So come on down if you just want to get your fix on a Monday. If there's no show, come on down to the Joker's Child. If you can't make it to the Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, please patronize your local comic shop. Use your Google search engine to find it for you, or Bing even. I'm sure they can help you out as well. But yeah, patronize your local comic shop. Buy all your indie comics along with your regular stuff.
Absolutely. All right, kiddies. Until next time, we want to thank you for joining us on the Indie Created Comics Podcast, where we are all about independent